Hello there and welcome back to the Blossom Review. How are you? Today we're talking about books a little bit because I wanted to share with you 15, maybe a couple more, Korean and Japanese books that are coming out in this semester that I am looking forward to reading. So books coming out between January and June of 2025. So I am really looking forward to reading these books and I think you should know about them and maybe add them to your own wish lists. Now, let's start with January. So I think it was last week, yes, the 16th. So on the 16th, we had the release of two Japanese books that I think are very, very interesting. The first was Strange Pictures by Yuketsu. So Strange Pictures is a mystery novel that allows the reader to be the detective. So I think this is very interesting. I'm a big fan of Myrtle, so I think this is my sort of thing. HarperCollins has been marketing the book as an eerie, fresh take on mystery horror in which a series of seemingly innocent pictures draws you into a disturbing web of unsolved mysteries and shattered psyches. So if you have already bought it, please tell me in the comments what you thought. Tell me if my excitement is justified. So this is the first one. Next is, of course, Hiromi Kawakami's Under the Eye of the Big Bird. So this, Kawakami, she doesn't need introductions, right? Kawakami has written several popular books, such as Strange Weather in Tokyo, People from My Neighborhood, The Third Love, and so on. So she's coming back to our bookshops with Under the Eye of the Big Bird that was actually published in Japan in 2016, so it's been a while. So the book is composed of 14 stories set in a dystopian world plagued by extinction. So humans have settled in little tribes around the planet under the care of AI watchers called mothers. So you have crazy things going on. So children are now made in factories with animal cells. You have interbreeding of humans and aliens, humans and AI. So you have these sort of strange, weird humans. And I think this is crazy. I have the impression that Under the Eye of the Big Bird is a bit nightmarish, a bit shocking, but I think maybe a book that we need right now, a book that reminds us of what makes us human. The Guardian has published a review of the book, and it says that the novel's non-linear mosaic structure uses discontinuous narratives to explore the transformation of human society by climate change and other stressors. It offers a powerful corrective to the assumption of human primacy, instead reminding us that we are not the end point in the process of evolution, but simply one link in a much longer chain. So Under the Eye of the Big Bird, I haven't bought it yet, but if you have and you have already read it, please let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Now let's talk about something a little bit less crazy and a little bit more cheerful. On the 30th of January, we'll have the release of The Convenience Store by the Sea by Sonoko Machida. So sometimes you just need a feel-good, cute, straightforward tale of encounters and kindness. And this is what The Convenience Store by the Sea offers. The cover of the book is absolutely stunning. I'm in love with it. But the book tells the story of course, tells the story now, but it is set at a convenience store by the sea called Tenderness. So this is the name of the store. The store offers its customers lots of delicious treats like egg sandwiches and soba, So you also have this food aspect to the story. And the store is managed by this very good-looking guy, apparently, that everybody loves. And of course, the book is all about the people that go to this convenience store and find some sort of healing there. The Convenience Store by the Sea actually came out in Japan in 2020, and it was so popular that it now has two sequels in Japan. So the second book was released in 2021 and the third book was released in 2023. So I think they're waiting to see if the first book is successful, then they might translate the following two books. Now, before we move on, I need to make a quick note that on February the 4th, we have a book called No One Knows coming out. So No One Knows is a collection of 14 short stories written by the great Dazai Osamu. And 6 of these short stories have never been translated into English before. So this is very exciting if you are a fan of, if you are Dazai's fan, or if you like classic Japanese literature. I think this is a very, very interesting, very exciting release. So I'm very much looking forward to it. So No One Knows. Make sure to save that title. Now, the following title is the one that everybody around the world, I think, is looking forward to. We are talking about We Do Not Part by Hankyu. The book is coming out on February the 6th. And I think Hankyu needs no introductions. I mean, even before, I don't know, maybe you've been living under a rock, but maybe, well, if you have, maybe you don't know that Hankyu is the first Korean woman to win a Nobel Prize for literature. And, well, everybody has been talking about Hankyu in the past few months. But even before she won the prize, I think everybody knew Hankyu because of her incredible bibliography that includes The Vegetarian, Human Acts, Greek lessons. So we know that Hankyu is able to move us because of her haunting, poignant and incredibly compassionate prose. And I think she has this incredible talent to mix history, culture, society, our individual sense of identity, and also what collectively makes us human. She managed to mix all these things into her books, and it's just incredible. And I have the impression that We Do Not Part ticks all these boxes. So the book was actually released in Korea in 2021. And back then, Hankyu mentioned that she saw We Do Not Part as a companion novel to Human Acts. So maybe if you haven't read Human Acts, now is the moment, read this one first, and then you go for We Do Not Part. So We Do Not Part is the story of a woman whose friend suffers an accident. So, and that means that she has to go back to Jeju Island because her friend lives in Jeju. And so her friend suffers this accident and she asks her to come back to the island because her friend has a pet bird. And she's scared that the bird is gonna die with her in the hospital and the bird alone at home. Yes, I love this premise. And then she flies back to Jeju. I don't remember if she lives in Seoul, I don't remember, but she flies back to Jeju. And when she gets there, she faces this huge snowstorm that makes her trip back to her friend's house a lot more difficult. And then she starts wondering whether she's going to be able to save the bird. But the point is, during this trip, she is introduced to her friend's family history, which involves the Jeju massacre, which was this awful chapter of Korean history that happened 60 or 70 years ago. So once again, you have this mix of history and culture and identity and, you know, what makes us human. So this is a book that I think is going to make me cry quite a bit, but I think I should read it. Definitely should read it. Penguin Books actually described it in a very, very nice way. So they said that We Do Not Part is a hymn to friendship, a eulogy to imagination, and above all, an indictment against forgetting. So yes, a must read that had to be part of this list, absolutely. Now, next one is a book that I'm not completely sure about, but I want to read it for a couple of reasons. So we're talking about May You Have Delicious Meals by Junko Takase, that is coming out on February 20th. Junko Takase is actually one of the most intriguing, most interesting writers of contemporary Japanese literature. This novel actually, May You Have Delicious Meals, won the Akutagawa Prize a few years ago. And I think that's why it has been translated into English. Because Junko, even though she is a very interesting name nowadays, and she's very popular in Japan, Junko has written 6 books, yes, but this is the very first one that is translated into English. Now, the novel has been showered with praise. You know, people say it's witty and it's funny and it's humane. But, so the premise is, the book follows 3 co-workers, Oshio, Nitane, and Ashikawa. Oshio is a woman and Nitane is a man, and the story is told through their perspective, okay? Oshio and Nitane absolutely hate Ashikawa. Why? Because Oshio and Nitane, they are very hardworking employees, very dedicated, they dedicate their lives to the office. Ashikawa, meanwhile, is very sweet, but she always makes mistakes at work and she refuses to work overtime. So 5, bye, see you later. In order to apologize for not being able to stay, Ashikawa always brings sweets and treats and cakes to the office. So everybody sort of loves Ashikawa because she brings all these treats. So Oshio and Itane, they can't help but feel resentful and annoyed because, you know, this girl doesn't do her job properly, but then she brings cakes and everybody loves her. And this is the work environment that we observe in the novel. Now, the Japan Times, when the book came out in Japan in 2022, the Japan Times wrote a review for it. And I love the title of the review. So it says, May You Have Delicious Meals is a feminist nightmare. And I was like, what? So the review says, layered underneath the themes about food and office politics is a more sinister commentary on feminism and social currency. Ashikawa represents a nightmarish yet entirely real version of female social Darwinism, one in which intellect and diligence are found low on the food chain and high up are naivete and the ability to curry sympathy. In the view of this book, it's surely better to be loved than to be feared, and even better to be loved for making fancy shortcakes. But readers, be warned, the ending may leave you with a feeling of queasy discomfort, as if you ate too many sweets. So I wonder where this story is going to lead us. So I think I am adding this to my wish list, and I think I'm going to read it when it comes out. Now, a novel that I think is going to be even more interesting is Hunchback by Sao Ichikawa, that is coming out on March the 3rd. So Sao Ichikawa actually took Japan by storm with her debut novel. So Hunchback is her debut novel, and it won the Akutagawa Prize last year, 2023 now, so 2 years ago. So in 2023. According to Penguin Books, Ishikawa is the very first disabled author to win Japan's most prestigious literary award, and the book was immediately acclaimed as one of the most important Japanese novels of the 21st century. So big. The Japan Times also published a review of Hunchback, and they said, the novella is frank and sardonic. Ishikawa's social commentary sits right on the surface, but it also gets under your skin. So Hunchback offers us, I think, a perspective that we don't often see in literature. So it tells the story of Shaka Izawa. Shaka was born with a congenital muscle disease, and she uses an electric wheelchair and ventilator. She lives in a care home, and she pretty much lives her life online. She studies, she tweets, and she posts erotica under a pen name online. So she has this very exciting life online, let's say. Until one day, a new male carer joins the care home where she lives and tells her that he knows everything about her. He tells her that he knows all her online secrets, let's say. Instead of feeling, panicky and all that, she simply turns to him and makes a very indecent proposal. Now, I know what the proposal is because I've been spoiled online, but I'm gonna keep spoilers out of this video. Now, the next novel is one that I'm very much looking forward to reading. It is Counterattacks at 30 by Won-pyung, which is coming out on March the 13th. We have lots of books coming out on March the 13th, actually. So Counterattacks at 30 is actually Won-pyung's second novel. So you might know her because of her debut novel, which was very, very popular in the West, Almond. So Almond is her coming of age debut novel. Counterattacks at 30 is her second novel, which came out in Korea in 2017. And this book, I feel like this is going to be very quirky, very spirited, because it tells the story of 4 young people who decide to rebel against the hypocrisy of society. So our protagonist is a young woman called Ji-hye. She's very ordinary, so she says she's very ordinary. And one day, a new intern joins her company, and he recruits her and another 3 or 4 colleagues to join this group that carry out plans for minor revenge. So I think the official synopsis describes them as a pacifist version of V in V for Vendetta, which is very silly. But their protest against the older generation comes in very small and, seemingly insignificant acts, like throwing eggs or graffiti, this sort of thing. So the novel raises this question: do these actions actually lead to any change in the world? Does it make any difference? Or do they make any difference in the world? So I think what the novel wants to convey is that, even though their shenanigans seem inconsequential at first, I think it reminds us that even the smallest of our actions actually can change the world, can make a difference. Also on March the 13th, we have another Korean novel that I'm really looking forward to reading called 1,000 Blues by Cheon Seong-rang. I'm so sorry, my Korean pronunciation is terrible, guys. I need to study. But in an interview with K-Book Trends, the author mentioned, "I mix anger, sadness, and beauty that I've felt in moments in life into my story. When I first decided to become a novelist, My most desperate goal was to write a story that could linger in one's heart, at least one. And I think she might have succeeded with A Thousand Blues. So A Thousand Blues was incredibly successful in Korea. It came out a few years back and it won the 4th Korea Sci-Fi Literature Award. And I think we can expect A Thousand Blues to be beautifully written, to be heartwarming, thought-provoking, and to be this journey about love and loss. So the book tells the story of two sisters who help, I think the book is set in 2035, and tells the story of these two sisters who help their mother at a local cafe. So their family is struggling because one family member has just lost their job to an automaton. And the one thing that gives joy to these two kids, to these two sisters, is a racehorse called Today. So they are devastated when they find out that the horse Today is being taken to the knacker's yard. So they decide to embark on a journey to save the horse. And this is the adventure you're signing up for in this book. So this sounds great. So A Thousand Blues, guys, make sure to add that one to your wish list as well. Now the next one comes from a very, very popular author that I think everybody knows about. The book is also coming out on March the 13th and it's called 100 Flowers by Genki Kawamura. Genki Kawamura, yes, the same author who wrote If Cats Disappeared from the World. We actually have a review of the book in the Blossom Review. I'll add it in the description if you want to take a look. So he's coming back this year, so he's coming back in English this year with this book that was actually released in Japan in 2019. Is a book about the transience of life. So once again, it's sort of similar to If Cats Disappeared from the World in a way. It is an introspective perspective on the relationship between mother and son. And the book actually received a film adaptation in 2022. The film stars Suda Masaki and Harada Mieko. I haven't watched it, but if you have, let me know in the comments as well. So this is the story of Yuriko and her son Izumi. So when Izumi was a boy, Yuriko disappeared for an entire year and then came back without much of an explanation. And now Izumi is an adult and Yuriko is getting older and she's diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. So if Izumi wants to find out what happened years ago during that 1 year, he's running out of time pretty much. So you observe as Yuriko battles this disease now, and as Izumi tries to understand who his mother really is. So it's a novel that, it seems, I've heard, that is a novel that reminds us of the beauty of our memories, the beauty of, how precious every moment in life is, and the beauty of familial love. Next book is a Japanese novel that I'm very, very much looking forward to reading. It's personally one of my favorites in this list. And we are talking about Lost Souls Meet Under a Full Moon by Mizuki Tsujimura, which is coming out on April the 3rd. So everybody knows Mizuki thanks to her excellent book, Lonely Castle in the Mirror. And she's now coming back to English bookshops with this hauntingly beautiful tale of grief and love. And Lonely Castle, Lost Souls Meet Under a Full Moon came out in Japan in 2010 and is actually part of a duology. This duology is the Tsunagu duology. I think in English they translate it to the Go-Between series or the Go-Between duology. And the sequel, so the second book, is coming out in July in the UK, and it's called How to Hold Someone in Your Heart. But we're going to talk about the second book later. The official synopsis for the first book describes it as a mesmeric tale of kindness, compassion, and connection, which sounds very much like my cup of tea. So I am very much looking forward to this book. And it tells the story. So the book is divided into 5 short stories about the go-between. So the go-between is a service that allows the living to reunite with a loved one who has passed away during a full moon. So this is gonna be, I think this is gonna be a very moving story. And I don't know if I should wait until the second book comes out and then I read the 2 of them together. I don't know, guys, what do you prefer to do in this case? I don't know. I don't know what to do. Because I want to read them, but at the same time I want to read maybe the 2 of them together will make more sense. But yeah, guys, let me know what you would like to do with this one. Next one is a book that I think is interesting. It's definitely on my wish list, but I am not in such a rush to read it. But I think it's gonna be interesting. It's called Someone to Watch Over You by Kumi Kimura, which is coming out on April the 10th. So Someone to Watch Over You is a very contemporary novel. I think it belongs to this new batch of novels that have started to explore the pandemic period. So I think it's a novel that discusses how we deal with human connections, how we learn to live and connect with others. And I think this is going to be a curious story for sure. So it tells the story of a former security guard and a former teacher who find themselves living together in 2020, so during the pandemic period. So they both faced incidents in their lives that pretty much ruined their careers, and they are now trapped, let's say, in this situation in which they have to learn how to live and to connect with this other person. So I think here Kimura is working with the importance and the beauty of human connection in such troubling times. So Someone to Watch Over You. Next one is an absolute classic. So we are talking about Wildcat Dome by Yuko Tsushima, which is coming out on April 10th. So Yuko Tsushima is one of the most important writers in the history of Japanese literature, and she published this book in Japan in 2013, and only now we have this book translated into English almost 10 years after her passing. So this is a story of discrimination and identity set in post-war Japan, and I think this is a book that's going to be heartbreaking, but it's spectacular. I mean, Yuko was such an incredible writer. So this is the story of Mich and Yonko. So they were childhood best friends who grew up together in an orphanage. And then after Mich's brother dies, they sort of drift apart. Years later, the Fukushima nuclear disaster brings the 2 of them together. And this new disaster actually reminds them of their past, of things that happened in the past. And so you have this story that they explore their present and their past in a way that explores the ideas of grief and loss and denial. So, well, Yuko Tsushima is a must read every day, all day. So yeah, so that's my next recommendation for you. Now, after Yuko, we are going to talk about, let's say, a more contemporary classic. We're going to talk about Sayaka Murata, who is returning to English bookstores with Vanishing World, which is coming out on April the 24th. So I think everybody knows the one and only Sayaka Murata. She has written several novels that are just incredible. But I think the thing that I find funny about Asian literature being translated into English is that we get the books that are famous or that become famous, and then after that you have the other books. Why am I saying this? Because for us, Sayaka's bibliography, it evolves, it starts with Convenience Store Woman and then Earthlings, and then, it reaches Vanishing World. When in fact, Vanishing World came out in Japan before Convenience Store Woman. So, Vanishing World was originally published in 2015 and is this offbeat, radical tale about marriage and sex and conformity in a way that is very Sayaka-esque, let's say. So, this book talks about, I think that this book is a very good, I think it goes very well together with Under the Eye of the Big Bird that we talked about before. This is also a dystopian sort of world that explores family and relationships and reproduction. So this is the story of Amane. When Amane was a child, she found out that her parents, I think she was about 10. Yeah, I think she was about 10. She found out that her parents committed the ultimate taboo. They fell in love, they had sex, and that's how Amane came to be. Because Amane lives in a society in which all children come from artificial insemination. So parents have clean, sexless marriages. So Amane grows up sort of like thinking about this whole thing of sex and relationships and marriage and wondering what the point is with all these things and the way the society works in the world where she lives. When she becomes an adult, she gets married and then she learns about this experiment of sorts called Eden. So Eden is a town in which residents are artificially inseminated en masse. So everybody is pregnant at the same time, including men apparently. Apparently men get these artificial wombs of sorts. And then what happens? There is no such thing as family. All children are raised together, so they are raised collectively and anonymously, so they don't know who their parents actually are. And so Sayaka is exploring this idea of family and of relationships in this very, very weird, with this very, very weird premise. So I think this is very interesting, and I want to know where this is going as well. So Vanishing World, the new Sayaka Murata book, coming out in April. Now, we've had a lot of dark and crazy novels in this list, I know, but the next ones are very nice and cheerful and happy. Now, the next book, I've been looking forward to reading this book for years now, and maybe you have too. Let me tell you why. So we're talking about Every Moment Was You by Ha-tae-won, which is coming out on May the 15th. Now, Every Moment Was You was featured in the library scene in What's Wrong with Secretary Kim in 2018. Back then, I remember seeing the book in a show and thinking, oh my God, do you think we have this translated? Do you think I can find this book? I couldn't because there wasn't a translation for it. But now we're finally having this book translated into English, and it's coming out in May. And I'm counting down the days. So this book explores the different facets of love and relationships. So it's a collection of short essays that share these very heartfelt, optimistic, healing stories about the different stages of a relationship. So the excitement of falling in love and the heartbreak and the need to let go. So this is a book that I'm very much looking forward to reading, and it's gonna remind me of What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, and that's kind of nice. The next one is another very sweet book called The Wizard's Bakery by Go-byung-mo, which is coming out on June the 5th. So I'm a big fan of magical realism. We've talked about Dollar Good Dream Department Store before, and I'm currently reading The Rainfall Market, which is absolutely adorable. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. So magical realism is my kind of thing. So of course I'm looking forward to The Wizard's Bakery. So maybe you know Go-byung-mo thanks to her last novel, the feminist Your Neighbor's Table, which came out in the UK last December. Or maybe you know her from her thriller novel, The Old Woman with the Knife, which came out in 2023. So this is what I was saying about Asian literature translated into English, that for us, Byung-mo started with thrillers and then went for a feminist novel, and now is writing this coming-of-age magical realist novel. But that's not true, because The Wizard's Bakery is in fact her debut novel. So The Wizard's Bakery came out in 2009 and it won the second Chun-Bi Prize for Young Adult Fiction. So The Wizard's Bakery tells the story of a young boy that encounters this bakery that is open 24/7. This bakery is managed by a grumpy old man, and the boy, who has all sorts of problems with his family, finds in the bakery this sort of safe haven. So he gets a job at the bakery, he starts working there, and he finds out that the cakes and the pastries that the bakery offers are not your normal cakes and pastries. So they have these magical powers. They can fix a broken heart, they can make you remember forgotten memories, so there is this whole thing to the bakery. And of course he finds out that there is, he needs to learn how to shoulder the responsibility of selling these things to people, because they can change their lives. So I think this is such a lovely, it's such a simple concept, but lovely and charming. And so this is a book that is there in my wish list, and I need to pre-order as soon as possible. The next book is another sweet and lovely read. It is called The Passengers on the Hankyu Line by Hiro Arikawa, which is coming out on June the 5th. The Passengers on the Hankyu Line is another book that is part of this healing fiction trend. So it promises to be this very optimistic, very inspiring story. I am sure you know Hiro Arikawa. She's the author behind the Traveling Cat Chronicles and The Goodbye Cat. So if you like her books, rejoice, because we're gonna get a new one this year. So the book follows 5 characters that are passengers on the Hankyu Line, and on the outward journey they share with us their heartbreak, their problems in life. Maybe they are related to love, they are related to growing up, to becoming old, all sorts of problems. And then on the return journey they share with us how they solved those problems, or how they faced these problems. So I think this is gonna be very sweet, very nice. Finally, my last book for you today is The Second Chance Convenience Store by Kim Ho-yeon, coming out on June the 19th. So this book, I am very much looking forward to reading this one. especially because my mom has already read it in Italian and she loved it. So I am very excited about this one. So if you don't know, Kim Ho-yeon is a novelist, a playwright, and a comic book writer. And the Second Chance Convenience Store came out in Korea in 2021 and has been translated into lots of different languages. And it was so warmly received in Europe, in Spain especially, that last year the author came to Spain to hold a talk at Madrid's biggest bookstore. So it is a book that really resonated with people around the world, and that's lovely to hear. So the novel was also a huge success in Korea, of course, so much so that he has written a sequel for it, The Second Chance Convenience Store 2, which came out in 2022. So the book is a tale of empathy, of kindness, and of course of second chances. It is the kind of book that inspires you to be a better person. And I love that my mom has asked me about the English version because she wants to give it to people. So it's really nice to see how much this story has resonated. So the story is about Dokko. Dokko is a homeless man who finds this lost wallet one day. He decides to return it to its rightful owner. And so he contacts the owner, who is called Mrs. Eon. She is a retired history teacher who now owns a convenience store. And to thank Dokko for giving back her wallet, she offers him a meal. And then they find out that they can actually help each other quite a bit. And Dokko is hired to work at the convenience store with her. And things get complicated when Mrs. Yeon's son decides to sell the shop. And for that to work, he hires a detective to investigate Dokko's past. So this is the story we are embarking on. This is the journey we're embarking on with these characters. So I think this is a lovely book, and I am counting down the days. I need to pre-order it as soon as possible as well. So I think this semester, I also need to mention that in this semester we have some sequels coming out. So on April 10th, we have The Cat Who Saved the Library by Sosuke Natsukawa. And we also have on June the 5th, we have Yuta Takehashi's The Calico Cat at the Chibineko Kitchen, which is also being released in English. So this was a long list, wasn't it? Now, quick reminder that 2 weeks ago, we posted this list. So we posted the list of Japanese titles on the Blossom Review. So you have everything there, the titles, the authors, the translators, release dates, synopsis, everything is there. So I'll leave the link in the description. And tomorrow we are posting the Korean list. So you can also check it tomorrow. I will add the link as soon as possible to the description as well. So yes, I hope you enjoyed this very long list. And well, I hope that you let me know in the comments which titles you are most looking forward to reading, which titles I haven't mentioned that you wanted to read this semester. And well, I hope you like, and I hope you subscribe, and I hope to see you around. And well, have a fantastic day and a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you very, very soon. Thank you so very much. Bye.